Hello, and welcome back to Fashion Founders Podcast. My name is Victoria Smith, and this week I'm joined by Alex Bushman, the founder of Influencer Social Responsibility. She is merging the worlds of nonprofit and business in a really innovative way, powered by the creator economy to give nonprofits a bigger platform. She helped found WeWoreWhat's Impact branch, and bringing people together is at the center of her work. She co-runs the Good Ole Girls Club and the Girl Dinner series. Alex brings such a level of intention and care to this process, really helping people figure out what lights them up, what makes them feel like they're making a true impact, what gives their work meaning. She has such a strong personal mission that guides her work, and it was really inspiring to hear her talk about that and figure out what my personal mission is, and I hope it inspires people listening too. I'm so excited to share the incredible work she does, so let's get into the episode. I also wanted to share a tool that I learned about during LA Tech Week. If you are a creator, influencer, freelancer, own a small business, or an agency, you have likely faced the problem of having a late or unpaid invoice. DoPay is a subscription-based service that helps creators recover unpaid invoices and get paid. With 87% of creators facing a payment issue at some point, it is more likely than not that you have faced some sort of issue with getting paid and getting your money's worth of work. It can also be really awkward and frustrating to have these conversations and follow-ups with clients. That's where DoPay comes in. And Grace, the founder of DoPay, is leveraging her legal expertise and background in advocacy to create an affordable and effective solution. They have recovered over $450,000 of invoices, ranging from $47 to $100,000, helping creators and business owners get paid. I think this is such a useful tool for anyone working for themselves. DoPay is there to be a third party that helps you navigate these awkward conversations, getting ghosted, and not knowing what your rights are. They also have great tools if you're just getting started, like an invoice generator and a contract checker. You can find them at dopayme.com, which is DUPAYME. And I do have a code for podcast listeners for $25 off their annual subscription. Use code Victoria25 in all caps and get paid for your work. Hi, Alex.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We met at the dinner a couple weeks ago, and I was instantly wanting to have you on the podcast. So I'm so excited this is happening.
I'm very honored to be here with a fellow Hoya.
Yeah, I know we both went to Georgetown, so you don't have to work in consulting,
Nope.
finance, government from Georgetown, FYI.
Yes.
But I would love to get into a bit of your background because the work you do now is really cool and I think unique. A lot of people aren't exactly in that merger of worlds, so would love to hear how you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for context, I have a social impact agency called Influencer Social Responsibility. We officially launched in January, but I've been doing this work for about 5 years now, I would say. My background is originally in the nonprofit and social impact space. I started off at an education nonprofit right after school and then ended up at a refugee and immigrant-led catering company called Eat Off Beat. So all the chefs were refugees and immigrants. And then when the pandemic came to New York, we lost 100% of our orders within a couple hours because everyone stopped ordering catering. And at the time, the only influencer that I followed was WeWoreWhat. And so I sent her a cold DM and I asked her if I could bring food from the catering company to where she was quarantining. And within like seconds of dropping the food off and her posting a single story about us, we ended up getting hundreds of people reaching out to place orders and support us. And so that was kind of the beginning of the work that I do now and eventually led to the launch of Influencer Social Responsibility.
I very much remember when We Gave What launched because I've been a longtime follower of We Wore What. I feel like she was such an OG. When did you really start to see that merger of, okay, people with platforms can spread awareness not of just small businesses and brands, but also nonprofit work and opportunities to get involved? When did that kind of click for you?
Yeah, so I think it was when all the creators were, I mean, again, I really didn't follow many creators except for Danielle at that point and like Melissa Wood, but all the stuff that they would normally be posting about, you know, like going to events or launching products or whatever it was, all of that was kind of put on hold. And I think they all were like, okay, we have these massive platforms and we really want to do something good with it. What can I do? And so I had seen Danielle start to post small businesses that were doing like tie-dye sweats, or she had already been connected to this organization called the River Fund, which is a nonprofit that helps folks who are on the lines of poverty. And so because of the pandemic, there was so much food scarcity, their operations were ramped up severely. And I remember seeing the story that she posted where it was the people from the River Fund, they didn't have grocery bags or carts big enough to bring the stuff. So they were going to get all the groceries and everything was falling through the garbage bags.
Right.
And so they were getting on, they weren't able to bring the food back to their families. And so I think just seeing the way she was storytelling around using her platform, I feel like there's this major opportunity here. And so the second that I dropped off the food at her house and saw that impact that it had, I think that there's something bigger here. And there's so many organizations right now that need this. And there's so many creators who are sitting here right now, like, what do I do with my platform? I really want to tap into this. So I actually trademarked influencer social responsibility, started that process a while ago, but then it just kind of came to light this year. And like, I really refocused on it this year.
So you got the name then?
Yeah, because corporate social responsibility is
Yeah.
obviously such a big term and something that's become something that all these companies have now, but it wasn't that way
Yeah.
when I was growing up, at least. I remember when I was trying to figure out what to do with my career, I started off in the nonprofit space and I was like, I love how mission-driven nonprofits are, but I feel like there's this whole sector of businesses and brands that should be using their platforms in this way and creators. And so I think that's what influencer social responsibility could be, like this new industry, almost this new standard for this wave of creators and social media that has not existed in the past.
Yeah. No, I also love that instantly you're like, I need a trademark.
Yeah. Actually, I need to shout out this woman, Marie, who was my mentor kind of when I was first starting
Yeah.
WeWoreWhat, because she was like, this is actually like a really smart idea that no one's doing. Like, you should trademark this. And I was like, you're right. I had never done that before. So I started it. And when I got the trademark, it was kind of a crazy feeling because I was like, this is kind of crazy that this has never been done before, like thought of before. So that was reaffirming in the fact that like this work is really important and also really timely and new.
Yeah. And I think the influencer creator economy industry is so new. And everyone's
Mhm.
learning as they go. And they are held to really high standards when it
Totally.
comes to their responsibility to talking about social platforms. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of them are like, okay, I don't know if I know enough to just do all of these posts.
Right.
How do I learn? Where can I connect with people?
Right.
Can I give someone else my platform that knows
Mhm.
more about
Yeah.
this? So I think they must really appreciate having someone like you that can help connect them in the best way for their audiences and the companies you work with. So how do you go about finding the nonprofits and then connecting them with creators?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we kind of think of ourselves as like a matchmaking platform, like the way that someone who was looking to date might go about that process. And so I feel grateful that I've been in this space for, I mean, almost a decade now since I graduated. And so I feel like I have really great relationships with nonprofits across all these different causes. And so I have that base foundational knowledge of this is the programming they do throughout the year. These are the products they need. This is how a creator could best engage with them. And then on the creator side, I also feel fortunate that I have been in the space for a bit now. So I have these authentic relationships with creators where it's almost like because they're my friends or because I know them, I'm like, oh, so and so really cares about this cause. So I know she would be great for this nonprofit. But if it's a creator that I'm working with for the first time, so I just did 2 events last week with Amelia Edmondson,
Mm.
who's a really amazing creator who's based out of California, and her whole niche is hosting. And so that was actually inbound. And I was familiar with, I've seen her TikToks of her like beautiful dinner parties, but I didn't know her like personally. And so we always do like an intro call that's a discovery call. What is it that you're passionate about? What's your story? What lights you up? What do you care about? What's made you the most happy in life? And so for her, she said when she was like in high school, she loved working with younger girls who are like the middle school age. And then she also grew up volunteering at a senior home with her mom when she was really little. And so like that those two groups of women, like she wanted to make feel seen and celebrated the same way like at a brand event an influencer feels those ways. And so that turned into a Halloween house with a nonprofit called Girls Inc. New York City that we work with, where we got all these costumes and brands to donate, and then the girls could come pick out all this Halloween stuff. And then last week we just did a disco party with a senior home, which was really, really fun. It was so sweet. And that was a class, not classic, but I think oftentimes, come to your point about creators being like, can I center someone else in this? I might not be the expert. I think it's really important to listen to the nonprofit because we were going to come in and be like, let's do a dinner party. And then we talked to the senior home and they're like, actually, I think the seniors are really looking for opportunities to like dance and like party and all that stuff. So like, let's make it more like interactive. And so we made it a disco party and it was really, really fun. And they were like dancing by the end of it. And it just was a really nice event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always so important to ask, what do
Yes.
people actually want?
Mhm.
Because you can have the best intentions and still end up missing the mark.
Totally.
So just having those conversations is so important. And something I think about and was kind of led a lot of my time at Georgetown was the different realms of government, business, and
Mm.
nonprofit. And I always felt like I landed somewhere in the middle. And
Mhm.
there was this term of social entrepreneurship that's
Mhm.
become more popular. Where do you kind of see what you do fit into this? Because you work with creators and business and nonprofits, but I don't think the government side of things.
Mm.
But how have you kind of blended these worlds to fit what you want to do and what you can bring?
That's such an interesting question. I honestly feel like this is a new wave of the way that impact is going to be done. I feel like traditionally, all of these sectors have kind of existed in silos. The nonprofits have been over here, governments have been over here, and business has been over here. And I feel like where the world is now and all the stuff that's going on in the world, I feel like we're realizing they can't all exist alone. Like nonprofits don't have the resources or oftentimes maybe like the bandwidth or sometimes the knowledge of social media or marketing that maybe like a business would have or has built. Consumers now are really looking for businesses to take stances on social issues. Gen Z is the first generation to care more, to prioritize purpose over profit, and to really decide where they shop based on the stances that businesses are taking. So I don't think that anyone can afford to be separate anymore. So I think social entrepreneurship is so interesting, and it's so like cool that because when I was at Georgetown, that was not a course, that was not something that was talked about. And so I think this blend of social, business, nonprofit, it's going to be this new standard or like wave of the way that we create change. I think ISR is hopefully like leading the charge in that.
I think you absolutely are. I remember like really diving into it. I was like, this is so interesting. And I also was like, I can't believe other people aren't doing this or no one else has thought about this because blending people with a platform who are also likable and
Yeah,
personable and we have this parasocial relationship with
totally.
and they're promoting brands and events. So why not also help promote nonprofits and
Yeah,
causes that are important, but
right.
in a way that isn't tone deaf? A lot of
Totally.
people can fall into that trap
Yeah.
and working with people who understand the nonprofit world and really
Yeah.
care, I think can make sure that that sort of doesn't happen.
Totally. And I think also something we always say to our creators is you don't have to talk about everything. Figure out like what it is that you care about and what feels authentic to you and talk about that, because consumers, followers, community members, they can tell like if it's authentic. And the most impactful thing I think is when like a creator is partnered with a nonprofit that really feels aligned with them and they're making a change in that space.
Yeah. And I saw you did with Pickle and
Yeah.
Miranda Mckeon
Yes.
around Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Obsessed with her. Yeah.
That is such a perfect example of a
Right.
creator who has literally gone through what she's
Mm-hmm.
spreading awareness for.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that event?
Oh my God, that was amazing. I just got chills kind of like thinking about it because it was the perfect blend of creator, brand, nonprofit. And it just felt really intimate and special and meaningful. And the reason that we also chose Pickle was Miranda earlier on this year, like modeled in the Pickle fashion show. It just felt like so like at its core, like aligned. And I think was really meaningful to her too, because she's done a family and friends pink party for the past 5 years, but this was the first time doing it for her community. And she posted this on social media where she was like, this year I really felt myself stepping into like a role of someone who brings other people together who have been affected by breast cancer. And so I think just for everyone, it felt really meaningful. Yeah.
I was watching some of her videos and I think it just you always have to have someone in the mix who is the community that you're trying to help.
Yes.
Otherwise it
Right.
doesn't blend and it doesn't go
Right.
the way as you would hope.
Totally.
So super interesting everything that you're doing. If a brand is hearing this, like we want to be involved somehow, we want to donate or we want to
Yeah.
help with this cause or whatever it might be, how can they reach out and help and work with you to
Yeah.
get that kind of rolling?
They can email me
Okay.
or follow us on Instagram or DM us. But I posted this the other day because at the senior home, at the senior home disco party, we had a gifting suite for the seniors of beauty products and wellness products. And at the Halloween house, we did the same thing. And at the prom dress drive, I did with Acquired Style and her sister Danielle Pheloung. The brands are an integral puzzle
Yeah.
piece to this. So it's really special. Like when brands see the value in like being part of this, because there is so much gifting that happens in this industry. And I think on the creator side, they're like, we're so grateful for all this gifting, but like also here are other things that we want to do. And here are other places that the gifting can be put towards in like a really meaningful way. And I think brands, when they recognize that too, you're still getting the ROI of working with an influencer because they're still posting, but it almost in a way makes it not almost, it does. It helps you stick out more and stand out more as a brand because you're doing something that's one, giving back, but two, it's different than like what all the other brands are doing, you know? And so I think we love working with, we have such a great ecosystem of brand partners that we work with and are always looking to connect with more brands, but feel very grateful for like CoverGirl is a big brand partner, Glam Squad's a big brand partner, Loverboy, all these cool buzzy brands that you see on social media have supported this work. And I think that's really special.
Definitely. And I kind of see it in the way that athletes, when they get really big, they often start a foundation. So, like, okay, I have so much privilege and a platform and the capital now to do this, and I have something I care about. I think we're going to start seeing influencers.
This is
do that
exactly,
too.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. Influencers are now in this same kind of cultural category as celebrities who also all start foundations. I just went to Matt Damon's water foundation, like celebrities, athletes, even like royalty in the past, like Princess Diana, people who were like leading kind of this cultural, like, because that's the role that influencers are in it now. And I remember Alex Earl posted this thing when she was getting ready to go on a Blade, and she was like, I'm having all these insane opportunities. If I'm going to have this platform, I'm going to use it for good. And then she started the like scholarship for U Miami.
Yeah.
She does Meals and Heels. She does fostering. And so I think the creators, the same way that athletes and celebrities, once they reach a certain level of success, resources, fame, whatever, like influencers want that too now because they want to feel purpose in their everyday lives. They don't want to just feel like it's not for anything,
Yeah.
you know?
I think I mean, I might be wrong on this, but I think it's really cool that Alex Earl, before starting like a beauty brand or what, a lot of people kind of do, she did the scholarship at Miami. Like, I think that really stands out and can say a lot about where someone's thinking and trajectory.
That also gave me chills. I didn't even realize that, but you're so right. She started her like margarita company. She's done Dancing with the Stars, but she like that was one of her like first orders of business was I'm gonna give back with my platform. So I love her. I'm like manifesting working with her at some point.
Oh, I see it for you.
Thank you.
And you also run Good Ole Girls Club. So how did that begin? You're very busy.
I am very busy. So I have a co-founder. Her name's Zoe. And so basically when I was doing We Gave What, I was like, this is really fucking lonely. This is really fucking lonely. And that is coming from me, who like has the most supportive partner. My fiance is so supportive. My family's so supportive. What we were talking about, like everyone from Georgetown, like all my college friends were like lawyers or consultants or finance people. And I was like, I just miss having like coworkers to like go through all this stuff. And Danielle and I were building We Gave What remotely. We didn't even meet in person until like 4 months into building it together. So I just felt like I need girls to like go through this with. And so Zoe and I like one day, like we're just gonna like do like a small intimate launch. And we like brought together 30 girls that I had been getting coffees with and just thought were like cool girls who would be part of the community. And then it kind of took on like a life of its own. Like I think so many people can relate to that, being not even a founder, but just like being in our space in New York City. Like every time you go to an event, you meet someone cool and it's like, okay, I want to like continue to build this relationship. But it's kind of hard. Like we're all so busy. It's so hard to like find time to like catch up with people all the time. And so we did that event, and then we did a Let's Fucking Manifest with Serena Kerrigan to launch it officially. And then after we did that, it kind of just like, I think it really resonated with people.
Yeah. No, I completely relate to that. I mean, it is really lonely.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips, like what's helped you feel less maybe lonely in it and less alone?
Honestly, that finding like other girls, but even last week was like the busiest week of my life, probably like with events. And I was like loading up all the boxes. Literally, my house was like a storage unit for like a week. And I was like, this is, again, despite having all of this community, like this is really hard and feels really lonely. And I would give lots of advice to my younger self, but surround yourself with supportive people, know your boundaries. I think that's been the hardest thing for me is like I feel like I get really excited about things and I want to say yes to everything at the expense of like my mental health and like burnout and all that stuff. And so one, having like language, like boundary language, like even just to be like, let me think about this, let me come back, think about this and get back to you. And then also like recognizing my burnout. If I feel myself starting to get really irritable or like apologizing a lot, I've noticed I do when I'm burnt out is I feel like I need to say sorry for everything, which I don't really know why. I don't know if that's like a woman thing, but so those things have been helpful for me. And then also having really supportive, good, reliable partners and vendors.
Yeah.
Because like last week I did 4 events, but I used the same vendors across the board, the same social media manager, like the same photographers, just so having people that you can go to often who you trust. So it makes it feel less lonely. Like even if they're not on your like actual team, you still feel like you have a team and doing all this stuff.
And events are hard work
Oh
to
my
put
God, they're
on.
exhausting. Physically exhausting and mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
Being like on is like really kind of tiring. I
And
think that's saying about my birthday. I felt like I was so on all week.
yeah.
That like when it came to my birthday, I was like, I just want to shut off my brain. You know? I don't want to be on anymore.
And I think to me, it's also the mental notes you're just taking,
Yeah.
making sure like, did the gift bags get delivered in time? Is that going to be there? Do I
Yeah.
seat this person next to that?
Yeah.
There's just so many little things that your
Totally.
brain is just running.
Yeah, I think I experience that a lot right before I go to bed or like right when I wake up in the morning. It just feels like there's a running list of
Yeah.
things to be thinking about or like making sure that I've done, you know?
How are you managing your time right now? Because you have influencer social responsibility, the Good Ole Girls Club, and you
Yeah.
guys just did a shop and pitch.
Yes, that was amazing.
And then you're still doing We Gave What, I think, right?
Yeah. So honestly, Good Ole Girls Club last year, we were doing monthly events. And then
Mhm.
I think when you're first starting a business, it's a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, and a lot does not stick. Shop and pitch stuck and was a really amazing event. And we were like, we're going to do this quarterly. And so outside of those like shop and pitches, we're not doing monthly events. And then We Gave What is we have an amazing person named Fran who does most of the operations and programming and social. And so for like Danielle and I, because obviously both of us are so busy, that's a major help. And we have like events, volunteer events that we do, but that's built in programming throughout the year. So it's kind of runs itself almost, which is nice. And then for ISR, I would say that's where all of my time is going right now. And I'm still trying really hard to figure out how to balance that. But I feel like finding the shop and pitch for Good Ole Girls Club, like I'm trying to find that for ISR. I was on a panel the other day and one of the questions was like, what makes an event a success? And one of the other panelists said, if you can do it again. And so I'm trying to find these events that are like our tentpole events that are like, we can repeat. Because, you know, we're 10 months old. And so we're always trying different events, different styles of events. But I'm trying to find what's the venue that we can work with again and again. What's the format of the event that we can do and again and again. And that going into our second year, I think will help us a lot.
I think that's really good advice for anyone listening who's like, I want to put on an event. It's kind of find your people who you know the space is going to look good. You don't have
Totally.
to be like, oh, shoot, the
Right.
lighting's weird and I have to buy a new light.
Yeah.
None of that. I think that's really good advice.
I have great partners and vendors in New York City. So if anyone's listening and wants a printing person or like a design person or a photographer, like I'm happy to share my people.
Oh my gosh, I might hit you up.
Yes, no, please. I love them. It's all like women-owned small businesses. They're great.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That. And if someone's listening and they're kind of in their career in New York and they're like, okay, I have my 9 to 5, but I kind of want to be doing something more creative or giving back in a way. Do you have any suggestions for maybe just small ways to start with and get involved?
I would try to find the same thing that I say like to my creators, figure out what it is that like lights you up. Do you want to be like doing something hands-on? Do you want to be working with kids? I think also something that's really fun is we all are craving community so much that sometimes doing a volunteer day like with a friend is more fun. So find other people in your life who like to give back, and maybe one day instead of going out to drinks or dinner, going to volunteer, or maybe going to volunteer and then going to drinks or dinner. You know what I mean? Make it a community thing, because then I think it will fill you up even more to do it with other people.
Definitely. I also think you can always find your people.
Yes.
Even if it's maybe not where your current friend group is.
Totally.
Like if all your friends are going out on a Friday night,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm just kind of being called to, I'm going to make something up, like go to Pilates or
Right.
like go to this community event. Like if you put in the work and just start talking to people, you'll find your people where you don't feel lonely and FOMO of, okay, I'm at Pilates or I'm volunteering or I'm at this new thing. Like you can find your group.
Yes, definitely. I also, to that point, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received was don't be afraid to speak things into the universe, because you never know who's listening. Like maybe you're like, I really want to take a pottery class. And then another person like, oh my God, I've been wanting to take a pottery class. Or like, I'm founding this app. And then someone else like, wait, I actually know this other friend who's also founding an app. And so I think like the more you obviously say it around people that you feel safe with and are going to support you, not make you feel bad or judged or whatever. But I think the more you say things, you'll be surprised who it attracts, what it attracts, maybe that you weren't expecting.
Totally. Are there experiences that you had maybe in college or your first job that you feel prepared you for what you're doing now? Like looking back, you're like, oh, that helped me to this, to that, and like
Yeah.
led me here.
I have two that aren't necessarily academic related. I'm very driven by my personal mission. That's been like my through line, like my entire life and everything that I've done. Like it's been driven by this personal experience. So when I was 8 years old, I was living in Battery Park City in downtown Manhattan. So it was 9/11. And my whole life up to that point was in Battery Park City in my community. And so that was obviously like this huge event that changed me, my family, our neighborhood. And it was obviously devastating and so sad, but I was very, very inspired and moved from this young age by the like resilience of the community, by the compassion of the other people in New York City, but also like all around the world. And so I think that has always been something that whatever I do, I know I want to be someone or in a place where I'm helping people tap into their resilience, helping people tap into their capacity for hope. And so then I think that plus when I was at my first job at the Posse Foundation, which was an education nonprofit, I saw In the Heights by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is a play about this girl named Nina who goes to Stanford. And then she's the only person from her community at Stanford. And she's on the verge of dropping out because she feels so out of place there. And so the education nonprofit that I worked at was all about sending groups of students from cities to schools so that when they got there, they felt like they had like a built-in support network. The organization was called the Posse Foundation. And so when I was at Posse, I wrote a cold email to Lin-Manuel Miranda's office. I don't know. I think I found his email like online or from a friend or something. And that ended up turning into a scholarship for students to pursue like theater, 20 students a year or something like that. And so I think that helped combine like my personal mission that I'd always known I'd had, plus not being afraid to like cold reach out or cold DM because that's how I connected with Danielle as well. And then also realizing like, whoa, like there are all these different, like if you're able to reach creators or people with platforms and find something that will resonate with them, the impact that they could have with their platform is so big. And so when I met Danielle, I was like, I feel like this makes sense too. And the last thing I'll just say about that is, again, this is a piece of advice that I got. My mom says it never hurts to ask. So I feel like I've always been someone who is like, I'll just ask and see what happens. And so that's gotten me pretty far in my career.
Well, that's beautiful that you have such a guiding North Star for everything that you've been doing since you were 8 years old.
Yeah, it's definitely like twisted and turned, but I do feel very grounded in my personal mission, which I think I feel very grateful for.
And the reflection to get there as well. Because I think, too, like you said, just by asking, if you come to it with such authenticity and like a genuine desire to help, I think you also help bring out the best in people because you're like, you have this amazing platform and I think you can help these people.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, again, like you said, like lights them up. It probably helps get them out of their day to day of like, I'm answering emails, I'm in the operations. It's like, wow, I can have an impact and someone sees me as someone who can have an impact.
Right.
I think you really help probably people see the best in themselves.
I hope so. And I think also like that's an important angle because I think there's a lot of the way cancel culture was. I think creators have a lot of fear. They get these platforms and like they're expected to speak up on every single issue. And so as opposed to framing it like you're going to get canceled or you're not like whatever if you don't talk about these issues, it's more like how can we help you be as purposeful as you can with your platform? And like framing it like that, I think is just a good switch, you know?
Yeah, definitely. In the positive and
Right.
abundance.
Yeah, exactly.
Fear, yeah.
Totally.
How have you seen the creator economy and industry change? You've been part of it for a while now.
I would just say that, like, I think when I first entered this space, there was way more pressure to maybe fit in a box or like to be like in a niche, be like, I'm a fitness creator, I'm a fashion creator, I'm a X creator. And now I think because the industry is maybe so saturated, it's not saturated, there's so many people trying to get into it. It's like there's this big movement, I think, to really lean into what helps you stand out or like what it is that like really makes you you and sets you apart from everyone else because no one else is you. And so I think a huge part of that is what is your story and what do you care about? So that's kind of where ISR comes in and tries to meet the creators where they are with that and be like, how do we highlight this in a way that also is giving back to this community or population or whatever it is? And so I think that where the industry is going, that impact is going to be part of everything and like be like a big staple in like the partnerships that creators do, the brands that they choose to work with, in the events that they're doing, like community events that they're doing. I think impact's going to be in that too. And so I'm really, really excited about where the industry is going and just to be connecting with as many creators who kind of see it going in the same direction and are aligned vision wise.
I love that vision
Yeah.
for what you're building.
Thank you.
You're kind of answering some of the questions I had. So I might go into some of the speed round
Perfect.
questions.
Yeah.
What is a fashion hot take that you have?
I don't know if this is like a hot take per se, but just to kind of like tie it to what I do, like I feel like there's so many ways now to shop that are more sustainable than maybe previously. And I am a huge fan of Pickle, which we talked about, and like Vivrel and like Rent the Runway and like all of that stuff. And I think my hot take maybe would be we don't need new things all the time, every season for every event, etc. There are platforms that exist that are really amazing way to still get new clothes that are also sustainable and amazing.
Yeah, I was sending out something on Pickle today.
Yeah,
So
I me too, literally.
I agree.
Yeah, I just rented a Pickle dress for my birthday.
I love that.
Yeah.
What is a nonprofit misconception people might have of working in the space?
I think the way that nonprofits operate is really changing and that there are a lot of I'm really excited by this next wave of nonprofits that I'm seeing created by like Gen Z. My friend Kate has a nonprofit called Gray for glioblastoma. Her dad passed away from glioblastoma, and so she started it in his honor, and she leans so heavy into social events, marketing, brand partnerships, et cetera. And I have other friends who are Gen Z also who are starting nonprofits. And I just think that when people think of nonprofits, it doesn't have to be like stuffy or old or like galas where people are like writing checks behind closed doors. I think that the way that change is being done is going to completely change. And I think it's a really exciting time to come into the nonprofit space. And the nonprofit space needs this next generation of people for nonprofits to thrive or continue to do the work that they do.
Amazing. Do you have a resource recommendation for anyone listening? So maybe a book, podcast, newsletter?
Yes, I've said this before, and my fiance makes fun of me, but the one movie that I often find myself coming back to is Soul. It's a Pixar animated movie. And I think as founders, sometimes, have you seen this movie?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as founders, we get so wrapped up with where we're going or success or what success looks like. And you've seen the movie, you know, the quote at the end where he like performs at the place that he's always wanted to perform at, and he's not satisfied. And he's like, okay, like what's next? And the woman is like, this is it. You got so lost kind of like in the sauce of like what you're going to achieve that like you're not appreciating like all the other things that you have. I don't know. I think we just get like, I fall victim to this too, in that like I feel like ISR is like my purpose, but there's also all this other stuff in my life that's my purpose and makes me so happy and fills me up equally. And so just not forgetting that. Sometimes if I get really, I don't know, down, I watch that movie and it just kind of brings me back. But I'm also just like a sucker for animated movies. But yeah, that's my answer.
No, I get that. I think too, sometimes you can be working so hard on something and forget that you're where you wanted to be just a year ago or 2 years ago, or like the little version of you would be like, oh my God, you're doing it. Like,
Totally.
you dreamed about this. So kind of looking around, being like, I did it and I'm here and there's more I want to do, but where I'm at right now is pretty good.
Yes, I totally agree.
And you're doing amazing.
Thank you. So are you.
Thanks. And then do you have any upcoming announcements, any events?
Yes. So it's crazy because we just started planning our 1-year anniversary. It's going to be at the end of January, and we're planning something really, really, really cool that is going to be like open to the public. Last year it was invite only, but I think this year it will be open. And so I'm really excited about that. And in that same vein, like when I started ISR, it was obviously to connect influencers to nonprofits, but I've noticed how many people are kind of craving more like volunteer opportunities. So I've started just like from my immediate network, bringing people in to volunteer at the influencer events that we're doing. But in 2026, there'll be a lot more opportunities for people to like volunteer and get involved. So that will be really fun.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I would want to go to.
Yes.
And a great place to meet friends, I think.
Totally. I was honest. I posted on TikTok a video, just like a clip from the senior disco party, me and like one of the seniors dancing, and it got 16,000 views. And all of the comments are people being like, how do I get involved? How do I sign up? And so I was like, wow, like people are really craving more opportunities to volunteer and do stuff. And which I don't know if I like realized that. And I don't think, to my knowledge, there's something for like our generation, you know, like it feels very like corporate, going to like a soup kitchen, things that like you don't get to pick something that really like resonates with you. And so I really want to be able to help folks find opportunities that like really resonate with them and get them involved.
I think the intentionality that you bring is so important. And where can everyone find you?
On Instagram, you can follow us on Influencer Social Responsibility, and my personal is Alex Bushman.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.